And we're back. Thanks very much for rejoining us. You're welcome along to our second stream this morning. If you have just joined us, we have a brilliant show coming up for you. We are going to talk with Gina Akpe-Moses a little bit later on about an amazing week for Irish sprinting. Obviously silver at the World Under-20s. And we're also going down to the AFL to talk to Colin O'Riordan about his debut for the Sydney Swans. All of that coming up in a little while. Shane Stapleton is with us. This morning we're going through the newspapers. I was just about to do the back pages of the... I've already done this one. Fitzmaurice should start, Donny. We were talking about Davy Fitz, and then Bray heading towards brink as club failed to meet FAI's wages deadline. The FAI issued a statement last night saying that they were going to sanction Bray Wanderers. Bray are not going to be allowed to sign any more players for the rest of the season, and far more importantly, they're out of the Iron Brew Scottish Cup.
Yeah, that's
I'd never heard of the Iron Brew Scottish Cup until I read it in the press release. What is it?
Well, it is a cup that is sponsored by Iron Brew and also has a term Scottish in there. I have no idea what it is.
Only 3 people know the recipe to Iron Brew, but of course, all 3 of us have probably never tasted it.
I've tasted it, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, it tastes like, remember the crackly gum that you would get and it would explode in your mouth and then turn into chewing gum? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same as that.
It's ginger ale.
No, it is definitely not ginger ale. Ginger ale is ginger ale, Canada Dry.
Yeah.
It's the only ginger ale that you should drink. And they've no ginger ale in France, by the way.
Or red lemonade outside Ireland.
Well, red lemonade is fair enough, but ginger ale is pretty famous. I'm like, could I have a ginger ale, please? And they're like...
What they serve up the TK.
All right, Grandpa.
But Iron Brew is nothing like it. Iron Brew is like this kind of viscous, disgusting, radioactive sugar turned into liquid form. Ugh.
You don't like it, Cher?
No, it's grim. Definitely not ginger ale.
That's why they built the Giants Causeway, was to get the hell away from Iron Brew, I think. That's
right, so that's the broadsheets, the broadloids.
The back page of the Herald this morning is Hart plots revenge on Dubs. Tyrone boss studied 2017 semi-final loss inside out. Which is definitely true. In that interview with Keith Duggan earlier on this year, I remember he could tell you exactly that Conor Callaghan wasn't marking his man and that he would have given out to him for bursting up the pitch and scoring that goal. So he has studied it inside out. He's been studying it inside out for the last 11 months. The back page of the Star this morning is Band United. Sanchez sits out tour opener after US visa snub. So Alexis Sanchez has not been granted access to the United States of America because of his suspended 16-month sentence for tax evasion when he was in Spain for image rights and all that. So presumably, Shane, if your image rights are up for grabs, make sure you kind of go via revenue properly, otherwise you will not get into the United States. French toast their heroes, says Tim Gray, and scramble for Oma, says Carl O'Kane. That's the story with the tickets there for Healy Park this weekend. The back page of the Irish Mirror then this morning is has to go. Belgium star told to leave Chelsea by Martinez. He can play for any team in the world. So he's turned down a 300 grand a week contract at Chelsea, of course. Sarri set to take over there, but Roberto Martinez is saying that he should just get the hell out of there, which he's correct in saying.
Would you be listening to Roberto Martinez?
I mean, when he's telling me to go to Real Madrid, it's like out of the mouths of babes, you know? That's fine. It's like, yeah, that's a good idea, Roberto. I should go to Real Madrid. That's a great idea.
I definitely was looking at myself already.
Yeah. All I needed was that outside validation.
The tab of the morning to you this morning is Justin Bieber pun on the back of the Sun. Is it too late now to stay? Sorry. Blues boss bid to keep world stars. It's an amazing headline. Well done to everybody at the Sun. And Alexis grounded. He can't go to the United States, as we've said. Bray in disarray as well. And Pogba is a leader and must now be Jose's skipper. So, it's going to be interesting to see how the Paul Pogba story develops over the year, because we've all been illuminated at the fact that, yes, he is good at football. The front page of the Daily Telegraph sports section is I've been treated like a criminal. The shocking story of how Britain turned its back on West Indies cricket great Collis King. And the back page of The Guardian then this morning is a dazzling epic World Cup. 4 weeks of endless drama re-energises grand competition. And of course, you've got Ronaldo there. I want to leave my mark on the history of Juventus. Cristiano Ronaldo's arrival in Turin there yesterday.
Was everybody giving out about the World Cup before this World Cup? I didn't think they were.
A lot of people are talking about how it no longer matters as much. It's all about the Champions League. That's where the best players are.
Well, I mean, the truth is that that's where the best players are, and that's where you're going to see the best football. But it matters way more than the Champions League, I would argue.
Yeah, especially the group stages of the Champions League. They're pretty poor.
Was it to do with the soulless nature of it all? People were like, oh, but we don't have a good World Cup for like 12 years because we've got to go to Russia and then Qatar. Whereas now it's like, well, Russia was great. Now it's just Qatar. Yeah. I've got a feeling in 4 years' time it's like Qatar is a jewel in the crown of the Middle East.
And look at the advances they've made in not killing the slaves who build the stadiums anymore.
It's like any other Middle Eastern city.
Oh, and they've got marriage equality now. Oh wait,
kind of. Yeah. Okay, so it's okay for us to laugh, right? Okay, we've got La Parisienne to show you the French celebrations. Le retour des héros.
Lovely, Ger. Lovely.
Do you know what that one means, Owen?
And the return of the heroes.
Well done. Yeah, excellent French translations.
Duolingo level 2.
We have L'équipe, or L'Equipe, as it's most commonly called around these parts. Une histoire de France.
A French history?
Yeah, French history, surely.
I don't think so. I think it's something else. Histoire is like a...
The story of France?
Like a novel or something? Is it like a... Tommy's useless. He's just telling us what's next. Raphael Varane apparently is next. As we're looking into his eyes, going, give us a translation there. He's like, nope. Raphael Varane next. So this is a video taken from Raphael Varane, and that looks pretty amazing, doesn't it?
That looks
The sun shines on the Champs-Elysees.
Just like O'Connell Street.
I mean, that's what we could have turned O'Connell Street into if we hadn't butchered it. But anyway. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I noticed the only footage I saw on Sky Sports News was of like riots from the previous night. I didn't see any stories about the riots. Was there significant rioting? Was it motivated by anything other than a few clowns? Or
I'm not quite sure. You're kind of putting me on the spot here.
Yeah.
I don't know the reasoning behind it, but you're right. There was some violence.
He keeps doing that to you, by the way, as well.
Yeah,
Put him on the spot.
I can usually kind of bat it away with some sort of changing the subject, but you can't really change the subject about that one, Shane.
No, that looked like when Barack Obama visited Moneygall. That's my take on that one.
the plaza?
Yeah.
They'll build a Circle
My
K
mother
there on
works there.
Champs-Elysees.
What's that?
They'll build a Circle K there now on Champs-Elysees.
Yeah. And a Papa John's pizza.
Yeah.
Right, so what have we got next? We have Dermot Ling talking to us about his take on the Davy era and the combination of chaos and structure it has unleashed.
Give us your assessment.
I think there's two forces that have kind of combined with Wexford. Davy Fitzgerald has come in, and what Davy Fitzgerald brings to all the teams that he's involved in is a phenomenal energy. I don't know how he does it even. I don't know how the great orators or leaders or whoever they are who instill this energy and belief and passion in people, and they drag something out of them, and he's definitely done that in Wexford to great effect. I think that you can have that with a degree of chaos, and it gets lost. Energy fizzles out into places that it shouldn't do. And the one thing that Davy Fitz has brought is a level of organisation that I don't think has been seen too often in Wexford before. And when that level of organisation meets that intense energy, you're going to push forward, which is what they did in 2017 to a huge extent. This team really pushed forward in 2017, and we all were the same as you said, looking forward to 2018. And I think that there was still definitely some performances. I mean, it's no secret, Davy, I think, pushes them very, very hard. There's an intensity that can only last so long, I think, for amateur players to be faced with that intensity from very early very late in the previous year or very early in the year. To meet that intensity all the time, I think you get the sense that it's going to run out.
Yeah, and that might already have happened, but I guess we'll wait and see what the news is and how long it takes Davy to make up his mind about whether or not he's staying. So in this cup, I have the names of 16 of the greatest hurlers that ever walked the planet, or at least currently are walking the planet. We're going to put them in Shane's helmet, and I'm going to have a root around.
Just when I thought I was the most childish guy in the room.
I'm going to have a root around. No, come on, I've been...
Right, so we'll do the
matchups for a while.
You'll pick one side, he'll pick the opposition. Yeah. So go for it.
I'm going to go first, having a root around. Who do I got? Who do I have? I always wanted to do this, and it is Patrick Horgan.
Patrick Horgan. Starting with a heavy hitter.
I feel like Gianni Infantino here. It's an amazing feeling. Paddy Maher.
Whoa, that is the clash of the heavyweights straight off the bat. That is straight off the back, because Paddy Maher would have been the best hurler in the country at the start of the season. Everybody would
sure
said
would.
It's not even. He was number one on Stapo's list, although he is from Tipperary, so maybe he might have been a bit biased. Oh, it's straight out of the bat. It's Joe Canning. Who's got Joe Canning in the first round?
It's going to be TJ Reid.
So we should just explain, if you've just joined us, because the stream's dropped, so maybe people have just joined us. What we're doing is we're picking the 16 best hurlers. Shane has picked his 16 best hurlers in the country. He's putting them up head to head in a World Cup style round of last 16, and we're going to find out who is the best hurler in the country.
We'll do polls for each
Bit
match.
of proof.
This is based on suggestions from Twitter
No,
people.
don't backpedal.
Not just
No
my own.
backpedaling.
A little bit of my bias in there too.
It's going to be the tie it around, I dare say. TJ Reid is going up against John Conlon.
Wait, no.
I've got Joe Canning.
Joe Canning against John
Joe
Conlon.
Canning, sorry.
Oh, this is crap. How did you fuck that up?
I mean, this is so
You have
difficult.
to remember a name for 8 seconds. It's Joe Canning. It's one of the most famous people in the country. And he morphed into TJ Reid in your head. Owen hates hurling. That's what
Let's
he's
get
doing.
this
He's trying
over
to
with.
sabotage this. Okay, so it's Seamus Callanan.
Seamus Callan.
You were thinking of hot balls.
I could just see the future, Jared, that's all, because he's got TJ Reid.
Seamus
Wow.
Callanan and TJ Reid.
Yeah.
That's going to bring out the tribalism.
Don't like Seamus Callan's odds in that one. We have Tony Kelly. Tony Kelly's got a shout now.
Let's see him up against
If he's
Jamie
back.
Barron.
I think Tony Kelly might win the first round. He's up against Chris Crummy, of course, a fantastic hurler. Does he have the profile required?
That's the
Do you
problem.
play club hurling with Chris Crummy? Is that why?
No, against. And he's unbelievable even at club.
Did he
level as
did he take you for 6 or 7 points one time? You're like,
well. No,
"Jeez,
but
it
one
must-"
time, who's this?
Is he the best fullback in the country at the moment? It's Pádraig Walsh.
Is he up against Dahi Burke?
Pádraig Walsh is going up against Pádraig Mannion.
Pádraig Mannion, possibly hurler of the year last year, could have been nominated.
Okay, I looked in there, but actually didn't see. It's Austin Gleeson.
Right.
It's Austin Gleeson, who would have had a shout. Who, if he was one thing or the other at the moment, might have a shout.
He could have been a contender, Chair.
Austin Gleeson going up against Owen Murphy.
Oh,
The greatest goalie of
let's
all
make
time.
sure. It's actually, there's some left. There should be.
He's getting stuck behind the padding.
Yeah. Hey.
Mind me. Have we actually lost the other one?
We have,
Are
yeah.
your fingers small enough to get in there? I think it was always going to end in a shambles, wasn't it?
That's the first time he said that. Jamie Barron.
I have a feeling it's Tom Morrissey, is it? He hasn't been said.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's loads left.
Dahi Burke.
Wait, is that not it?
No,
there's
I've got
loads in
7.
there.
Where are they?
2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Shane having
There's
a good root
definitely
around. If you're listening on the audio only stream, he's having a good root around in his helmet, ripping the padding. I've got Seamus Harnedy as my last one.
Right.
You seem to have lost
It
the
has
last
to be.
one.
It has to
2,
be Tom
4,
Morrissey.
6, 7, 8.
It's Tom Morrissey.
The round of 16, it's Seamus Harnedy. Poor Tom Morrissey doesn't even get his name pulled from the hat.
I think the producer, Tommy, forgot to put it in there, didn't you, Tommy? You're a shambles. Right, so that's that. I'll
it.
throw them up on Twitter and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Last 16 quarter semi-final, yeah.
Who did TJ Reid get in the end?
TJ Reid, I don't know, you pulled out his opposition.
Did I?
Yeah.
Did you pull him out?
No, I pulled out TJ Reid. I think you pulled it, wasn't Austin Gleeson, was it?
Oh, it was
No.
Seamus Callanan.
Callan, yeah.
That's
So
tough.
That's a tie.
hopefully someone wrote that down because I can't remember what they are.
Okay, you had one job, Shane. Well done. Right, you write this down. No, we've.
Oh, wait, there is, I think I found Tom Morrissey.
Where was he?
Just beside me here. Tom Morrissey. To complete the draw.
Okay, so he could have come out at any point during that, and instead you've left him to last.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
That was fun. That was an experience. That was a couple of minutes we'll never get back.
there's a bit of adrenaline when you're making those draws, though, isn't there? You can see how everybody.
Does it feel important?
Everybody in the Morning Ireland studio, when they're all there, like, ooh, what's going to happen? Yeah, all those games were at home, except the one in Newbridge. Like, you can see how you get carried away with it.
We'll have a big turnout for this on Twitter, unless it's in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, of course.
Yeah, hey, you hold in your hands the fate of an entire county season. Like, careers and teams are made from such defeats and victories.
Yeah.
The stories of the summer.
Felt like Andriy Shevchenko there, which was a good feeling for a while. But it's over now.
Isla Cody says, this is more intense than the #TheWorld Cup. The Paddy Maher campaign starts now.
Definitely a Thurles woman, or a Tipperary woman.
Just to confirm to the people who aren't aware, you're going to do this on your own personal Twitter account.
Yeah, well, like it's been, again, you're trying to Shanghai me there, aren't you? But like the polls have just been kind of going, just getting a huge reaction. So because of the hurling show, which goes every Friday, is it, Jer?
Yeah, what time?
The hurling show with Shane Stapleton.
Yeah. So I just said to keep it going because people are so tribalistic. It's quite enjoyable, actually, the amount of comments you get back, and a lot of people call me out for bias, but there's definitely no bias there.
What time on a Friday, is it?
I think it's 12:30 this Friday.
Okay, we've got a couple of minutes before we're going to Colin O'Riordan down under. He's been starring for the Sydney Swans on his debut. It's been a remarkable rise for another Tipperary man, actually. A big loss to both the hurlers and the footballers, maybe.
Especially the footballers, because he'd gone into the hurling panel late on in 2014, but he'd been mainly focusing on the football. Like, exceptional player, would have been an unbelievable option because of that athleticism as well. And if you think of Tipperary football, when both himself and Stephen O'Brien were coming through, and Stephen O'Brien went away to the hurlers for a couple of years as well, but what a midfield that was for the Tipperary under-21s that got to the All-Ireland final against Tyrone. And you see how plenty of those Tyrone guys have kicked on at the senior level. And as well, like Stephen O'Brien, Colin O'Riordan, and even Peter Aitchison as well, who's gone away. Seamus Kennedy went to the hurlers as well.
Yeah.
The potential for that Tipperary football team would be huge if, you know, other sports and in Peter Aitchison's case, Dubai weren't luring people away.
Yeah, if life just didn't get in the way. Like, one of the things when lads go away like this, the fans from the county want them to succeed to a certain extent, but not too much, so that they'll get the experience of being professional and then come back. With all the Kildare lads who went away, it was like, I wish them well, but I mean, if they do come back having failed, it would be like, woohoo, you've got that experience, and they really benefited from it. But with this, it looks like it's kind of gone to a point now where he's going to make it.
Maybe be another Zach Toohey or Pierce Hanley as well. Yeah, I mean, like, from early doors, you knew this guy was a bit of a machine. I think in the 2011 All-Ireland minor final, he was in there at 15 years of age. So it was earmarked pretty early that this guy was going to be special.
Let's talk a little bit about the games of the weekend. Limerick Kilkenny had a bang of the making of a team. Like, we saw Limerick across the course of the Munster Championship, but because it wasn't do or die, ultimately for them, and it wasn't a little bit, but like, you know, they grew into that campaign. We didn't know what they were made of yet, really. We do now, and they're made of strong stuff.
They are, yeah. As well, I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that Kilkenny aren't quite where they were at. So they were waiting to be taken by Limerick. And this Limerick team badly needed a landmark win. Because, you know, like you're saying, it wasn't always do or die in Munster this year, but we did see, by beating Tipperary, and you could have won by more, that obviously they're a team. The fact that they drew with Cork despite having 14 men for a lot of the game. They hammered Waterford. And fair enough, like, every team's had a blip, and they had it against Clare, so it was all about can they bounce back or not. But speaking with Dan Morrissey after the game, just like speaking with John Kiley as well, a game they referenced was against Galway in the league. So that basically amounted to a promotion playoff. Not that, like, being Division 1A or Division 1B makes a whole pile of difference.
It does depend. I think it depends on the state of where you are. Like, if you're Galway, you've been in the All-Ireland finals, and actually you have a very specific target every year. But if you're Limerick who are trying to build, you want to play those games.
Yeah, especially when they've been down in the second tier in the league for probably 7 or 8 years, something like that as well. So they came from 7 or 8 points behind and won that game. And Galway last year, when they won the All-Ireland, they kept referencing a league game where they were 10 points behind against Waterford, came back and won it, and it was a springboard for them.
It's mad, because that was like Waterford's B team. Waterford arrested their team. Anyway, go on.
And the big challenge now for Limerick is, can they kick it on to the next level? Actually, just to go back to that promotion as well, they got promoted without having any of their Napier players involved, who were obviously with the club at the time. So that was an incredible thing, to then be able to bring all those players who the team would actually have been built on for some years, some of their players, and then be able to get the promotion anyway. So imagine for John Kiley to be able to say, well, now I can add in Shane Dowling, I can bring in Peter Casey, who's one of the most exciting young forwards around, and like, he didn't even use David Dempsey the other day, another great guy. But the big thing for Limerick is that they've had a shocking record in Croke Park over the years. Since they won the All-Ireland 45 years ago, they've only won 5 games in Croke Park in Championship, and 2 of those were against Antrim, who weren't exactly, you know, who aren't regularly winning All-Irelands, obviously.
So what has Kiley done this year that has been different, or what has Kiley been doing with this group that has been different from previous?
Well, look at the half back line he has, like Diarmuid Burns, Declan Hannon, and like I wondered, was Declan Hannon going to work centre back, because like he always came in as a forward. Under 21 he'd been centre back at if I remember correctly as well, but like, he's an attacking half forward from what I remember. He scored 5 points against Kilkenny in the All-Ireland semi-final in 2014 in the monsoon, and he was unbelievable. And I wondered, is he going to be able to have the defensive sort of mindset to play centre back, where you need to be really mindful of everything going on around you. And then they've got Dan Morrissey as well. And finally they found the right position for Cian Lynch, because he'd been in and around, let's say, corner forward for different years as well. So they finally got a structure, and they've got the likes of Aaron Gillan coming through. They've got a huge half forward line in Kyle Hayes, who has just come through, Tom Morrissey and Groat Hegarty as well. But they've just got brilliant, they've got excellent players, a massive depth in the panel, and they've got a really good structure in the defence. And I like the movement in their forward line, because they do the accordion thing a lot of the time for the puck out as well. They go in, they leave a huge amount of space, and then they crisscross each other. And if you're smart on your puck outs as well, you win a lot of free ball. Yeah, for sure. Okay, we'll come back to that in a good bit more detail ahead of the All-Ireland semi-finals as well. And of course you get more hurling goodness with Shane on the Hurling Show on Friday afternoon. And of course OTBAM is live with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. We're going to Australia to Colin O'Riordan next. Just before that though, here's Enda McGinley on last night's programme discussing the possibility of Monaghan knocking out Kerry on Sunday.
Based on what we've seen thus far, how big a chance do you give Kerry up in Clonus? I mean, I would think they're pretty worried right now. Like, Fitzmaurice must be scratching his head a little bit here.
Absolutely. The Kerry Monaghan game is absolutely massive. If we think about some of the just where them two teams are at the minute, Monaghan know that they're a great league team. They are great in these sort of smaller grounds. They're great in these more sort of regular games. That's their forte. They have really struggled in the quarter-final, big knockout games in the quarter-final championship over many, many years. When they should have made a semi-final by now, they have routinely failed at this quarter-final hurdle. Yet this weekend coming, they have a chance on their home pitch in Clonus to take that step into the Ireland semi-final. Like, that's an unbelievable chance for Monaghan. Kerry are going to be coming up there, coming into the Lions Den. Monaghan are going to be like men at war in that match, I have no doubt. Like, Monaghan have this monkey on the back of not being able to make that semi-final berth. Malik O'Rourke has had it put to them, the players have had it put to them that they never are good enough. They're good, but they're not good enough ever to make that big step to the semi-final. And here they are playing on their home pitch in Clonus against Kerry, and it's a wounded Kerry. And again, it's a Kerry that's not, I don't see a Kerry that's sure of what they're at the minute as a team. So it's a huge chance for Monaghan, and that's a massive game for Kerry, an absolutely massive game for Kerry. And I almost am suspecting that Monaghan could win, and if that's the case, Kerry's gone, which is unbelievable, really.
Yeah, dead rubber and Killarney between Kerry and Kildare in the final round, if that does happen. Now let's go to Australia. Colin O'Riordan is standing by. Colin, good morning to you. Good evening where you are. How's it going?
Not too bad, lads. How are things?
Yeah, listen, congratulations. Your debut at the weekend. It couldn't really have gone any better for you, could it?
Yeah, no, not really, I suppose. It was very special. Obviously, with the match the way it went, and especially the result. Yeah, it was one of those days that you dream of. Probably not as a kid, but certainly since I've came here, and yeah, it was just very special, especially to get the win, and everyone was on a bit of a high after, which made it even better.
Tell us a little bit about your journey to get there, because you've had injuries, you've had setbacks, you broke a bone in your back, you had a punctured lung. Did you feel like you were going to make it the whole way through? Did you always have that confidence that you would end up making your debut at some point?
I think you have to have self-belief, and I guess I never really stopped believing in myself or believing that I could make it at the highest level. Obviously you get setbacks, but when you get a setback or you get an injury like that, it gives you the opportunity to do something else. And it sounds like a cliche, but at the end of the day, if you get the opportunity to do this, you may as well give it your all, and that's what I tried to do. Injury is part and parcel of the game. You can't suck over it. You can't go on about it, because if that's what you do, you'll never end up anywhere. But yeah, if you get setbacks, you just have to get over them and treat them as another challenge and another opportunity that you're going to get stronger from, I guess.
It's always easier when you have a contract already in the bag when the injuries happen, because at least you know you're there for the long haul. So when I think you were actually in the middle of the injury when you signed the 2-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. So that was a real sign of confidence that the Sydney Swans want you, they believe in you, and that exactly is what you want to hear from an organisation.
Yeah, exactly. They showed massive belief in me, massive faith in me, and I just wanted to repay them ever since they gave me the opportunity. And I was lucky enough to get the chance last Sunday, and yeah, like I said, it was a special day. But I really just wanted to repay the faith they showed in me, and I'll try to do that for as long as I can anyway.
A couple of things struck me when we were just doing a bit of reading around this on your Twitter handle. You don't talk first about being an Aussie rules player. You talk about being a business student, so you're making sure that you're actually doing stuff outside of being a professional athlete at the same time. Was that always your plan, or is that something that your folks kind of said when you were heading out that you have to do? How did that come about?
Not really, to be honest. I guess the club, probably, we're lucky enough. We've won the best player welfare managers, one of the best men I've ever met, to be honest. And he encourages you to do stuff outside of football, and he always says to us, you're more than athletes, you're people first, and you're a player second. And at the end of the day, football could end tomorrow, touch wood, it won't, but it could. And if that happens, you need something to fall back on. So I'm lucky enough. I'm studying a business degree here, and it gives you a bit of leeway and something to fall back on if things did go wrong, which hopefully it doesn't. But at least you have that comfort behind you that you have something to fall back on. Yeah.
Colin, I suppose sport, it's Shane here, sport is a sort of a fickle career, really. Would you have seen an awful lot of players come and go, like maybe, international sort of players like yourself come and go in a few years you've been there, and see how it doesn't always end up like it has for you, whereby you get that professional start?
Yeah, no question about it. Since I've been here, I think I've only been here 2.5 years, and I think probably 20 people have turned over on the list of 47. 20 have turned over, so I guess every year they probably clear about 25% of the list, and like you see them lads going, and it was a shock to me at the start, professional sport, that it's a ruthless industry, and you become close to these boys, and suddenly then you realise you come back from off season, and some of them you might never see again, and that was hard for me in the first year. I didn't really understand that. I didn't understand how you could just cut someone and they're gone then. Probably never given another opportunity. So it is a ruthless industry, and something that you just have to get used to. And I guess the only thing you really have to do is make sure you're not one of them at the end of the year.
And like, what's the living situation when you moved there first? Because you're taken away from your family, your friends, all that kind of thing. So do you start off in digs and then eventually go out on your own?
Yeah, the Swans are a bit different. A lot of clubs, if an international player comes in, they live with the host family, but the Swans are actually one of the only clubs that don't really encourage that. They encourage you to live with an older player. So when I came over first, I lived with Alir and Tom Papley. They're two lads obviously on the team. Alir was in his third year, and me and Tom were in our first year, obviously. So what they do with the Swans, they kind of encourage you to live in the housing program. There's 4 or 5 houses in the housing program, and they say a third year player is kind of the leader of the house, and they encourage all the young lads, show them their ropes, show them what happens, and then they move on, and it's kind of up to you to take over the mantle. So then last year I was probably the leader of the house, and then this year I moved out and someone else moved in, and it's that progression and continuous building of what they feel is the leadership, and both on and off the field.
I was just going to ask, what's the shock to the system in terms of the training you do over there? Daniel Flynn told me before about one time they flew to the Middle East and they did 100 metre sprints as well. Can you tell me about anything that might have been a shock to the system for you?
Yeah, we never flew to the Middle East now, but we do a fair bit of running, all right. I guess pre-season is a bit different to in-season, and it's just a case, a lot of time of pre-season you just have to kind of get through it, and it is a grind, and by the end of it all you want to do is play games. And I think you have to remember that at the end of the day you're going to be playing games, and when it comes into the in-season program it's a lot different. But for an example, like pre-season session will be probably a 2.5 hour running session on the field. There wouldn't be much football. You'd see a little bit of football, but you wouldn't see much. You'd probably clock up maybe 13-14 kilometres in 2.5 hours. High intensity running and competitive running against other lads, so it's fairly track and field stuff. Not much, probably 3 times a week you do that. Recover at the weekend, 3 or 4 gym sessions in between, and then like I say, recover at the weekend and do it all again for probably 16 weeks in pre-season, and then you go at it hard for 27 weeks in season.
What was the homesickness like at the start? Because I mean, you said you're there 2.5, 3 years at this point, which means that you were still a very young man when you went out, but quite old in Aussie rules terms. So you've got that culture shock of everybody knowing the language, and the language of the game, and the kind of just the normal arithmetic of where to take up positions and how the ball works, and then also that difference of living in a house with 2 grown men who you don't know.
Yeah, it's funny actually, because you don't have much of a choice when you go in initially. You're kind of given this house, and you're told you're going to be living with this lad, and it just happens Alir is a Sudanese fella. He came from Sudan as a refugee when he was 7 years of age. So it was kind of ironic that there was going to be an Irish lad, a Sudanese lad, and then an Australian living in the one house. So it was a fairly diverse house, all right. But it is a bit of a culture shock, especially. But I guess you could just embrace it. Like they didn't probably understand me for the first few weeks, and a lot of them still don't understand me now. But it's just you just get used to it. Like it's great crack over here, and you do everything with the lads. You sleep in the same house together. You go and eat breakfast together. You go to the club together. So you're with each other for probably 90% of the day, and it's just something you have to embrace and just absolutely love it, or else you won't succeed. It's simple as.
Obviously, Ty Connelly's been back involved with the Sydney Swans specifically this year. To what extent has he helped you out, just seeing, I guess, another familiar Irish face around the club? I presume that's been a bit of a help.
For sure. Like obviously, his resume speaks for itself. Like he's obviously done everything and won the highest level and won nearly all the accolades you can win over here, and won the ultimate one, obviously, which is the flag. And his guidance throughout the year, especially in my first year, actually, probably more so than this year, was something else. He helped me throughout my first year a lot, got me over, made sure I felt at home, was comfortable with everything, and I'll thank him forever for that. He probably helped me when I was struggling a little bit with homesickness, and it's massive to have someone like that in the club. And this year, then he's encouraged me to go to the next level with my game, take it on more, and just express myself. And I guess one thing he always says to me is, don't ever forget why the Swans drafted you. And that's probably something that stuck with me, because you don't want to change my game in order to facilitate them when they saw something in me that they drafted. So I was probably trying to change it a bit too much at the start. But he gave me that reassurance that just play your natural game and you'll get there.
So there's been a few one-on-one sessions going on, and like, would that be a usual thing, or is it kind of like not special treatment, but for somebody who's so new to the game that there needs to be a few extra sessions done on more of the basic elements of the game? Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, for sure. Like obviously, I had to do a fair few extra sessions for the first 2 years, especially, and this year, like you don't ever stop doing them, because you think you made your debut, now you can stop, you can lag off. Like if you do that, you'll be caught out fairly quickly. I've no doubt about that. So you can't stop. Or that's probably something else he told me. You can't just accept that you've played one AFL game. Now it's the next few weeks are going to be hard to keep that consistent run going, and it's just something you have to embrace, like I said. And the guidance he's given me, and the extra pitch sessions, the extra touch sessions. Like he says to me, you want to touch a ball about 2,500 times a day, which sounds crazy, but so I could be at home and I'd just be handballing it to myself, and you just get your touch in. Like it's crazy thinking about that many times you touch a ball, but in order to get there, you kind of have to do it, and you don't have much of a choice.
So you're just carrying the ball around with you all day, and would you see the 2,500 as a target in your head?
Yeah, you wouldn't probably count them exactly now, but you get a fair indication. Like, there's no paper and pen, but now you just whenever you get a chance to grab a ball, like you grab a lad and you just like have a handball game with them, or a kicking game with them, or something. Like it's just a matter of holding the ball and getting used to it, really.
We've had some videos through. I think your brother had one from the family house at home, which is decked out in the Sydney Swans colours. That must be amazing to kind of see the home house and your jerseys hanging on the wall, and just the level of excitement that there is back at home.
Yeah, it's a bit special. Obviously Kevin couldn't make it out here, but he's certainly done everything he could at home, and it's massive. Obviously, it makes me grow an extra level as well, and you feel 10 foot tall running out on the field, knowing that you have the support of your family and friends, and it's just like the only way you can describe it is it's something special, really.
Yeah, because we video footage as well of the walkout and the christening as well, which we can roll here as well. The debut, when it comes, did you know in advance that you were going to be making it this weekend? How soon before do you actually get the word that you're playing?
Yeah, I was lucky enough. I think they understand when you're an international player that you need a bit of notice, and it's probably a bit of a bigger deal for everyone, and then they have to fly. They wanted to fly Mum and Dad over, so they told me on Tuesday morning that I was going to be playing, and obviously the news broke then on Thursday night. So I had that 2 days to myself where I could kind of think about the journey and think about where I've come from and stuff like that. And it's just when you look back at it, like, and you think of where you came from and the journey that it took you to get where you are, it's kind of humbling to hear everyone, the well wishes from everyone, especially. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, and then obviously your teammates understand it's a big deal as well, because you get christened afterwards.
Yeah, you get christened obviously with the Gatorade shower. You end up being a ball of stick for a while, but I know it's great. Like the lads, it's something special. I think they're doing it over here, and it probably doesn't happen at home in the ZA where you sing the song at the end of the game. But I think it's very special, and it just brings everyone together after a hard-fought game. You get the win, and you sing a song, and it just makes that tight-knit group that everyone wants to be a part of. And I think it actually brings another dimension to the game, to be honest.
Yeah, a couple of quick questions about Tipperary football, obviously, because the underage team that you were a part of was fairly sensational, but you were a 15-year-old winning a minor All-Ireland as a wing-back, and then ultimately you would have been a midfielder really for the senior team, is that right?
That was it, yeah. So I probably started off wing-back, and didn't know much about defending, just said I'd run forward as much as I could and get a few loose balls, and then probably progressed. They finally realised that and pushed me up to midfield, and yeah, it's obviously they had probably for their own standards had a bad enough year this year compared to getting to the semi-final a couple of years ago. But look, I've no doubt you don't become a bad team overnight just because you play one bad game. I still think it's a process, a building process, and a lot of them lads are very young, and obviously we've lost a good few lads to the team that won the minor, but look, if they stick with it, I've no doubt that they'll be a serious team in a few years.
Thinking back, why did that team come together at the same time? Were you all part of a development squad that had a particularly good coach? Was it just that Tipperary was finally able to begin to find the young football talent and put it together? What happened?
Oh, geez, I don't know. It's a hard one, and you can't really put a word on it. It was a special group, that's for sure. There was probably I don't know 25, probably 30. Well, there was 30 extremely gifted footballers on our panel, especially in that minor one. It'd be interesting to see where everyone's at now. How much of that 30 is still actually playing? But yeah, I can't really put my finger on it. It was just a special feeling. The group probably committed to it. Listened to everything from when we won the minor. Listened to Dave Power, took it all in. Listened to Johnny Evans and the backroom team, and that was probably it. You just bought into it, and you give it a crack, and you realise that you can actually mix it with the big boys. You can mix it with Dublin, you can mix it with Mayo, and you can mix it with these boys. And it's all about belief, really. At the end of the day, if you believe you can do something, invariably you'll be able to do it at some point.
Colin, around the time that you were getting interest from Australia, was it a case that you would have had the footballers looking for you for Tipperary? Probably the hurlers were interested in you at one point as well, and you were in and out of there, and then the AFL as well. Was that really tough and you had been pulled from all directions?
Yeah, it was, to be honest. I think it was, I don't know what year it was, but it was 2015, the middle of the summer of 2015. To be honest with you, I was sick of it. I was sick of football and hurling, and my hunger we probably lost to Tyrone in the under-21 final, and I was probably feeling a bit sorry for myself, and I just said I needed a break, and there was just too much going on. I couldn't hack it. I was just sick, and to be honest with you, the AFL came at a great time for me. I had a good year, and they gave me a brand new lease of life, and it was a new adventure and a new journey for me, and something that I really committed to, and said, right, if I'm going to go over here, I'm going to give it a real shot. But yeah, it did have a massive toll on me being pulled, but I kind of took a step back and just took the opportunity that presented itself to me.
What was making you take the fact that everybody wanted a piece of you?
Yeah, it was mainly that. Like, I probably lost the last 3 games I played that year. I'd lost, and I wouldn't say I was probably feeling sorry for myself a little bit, and yeah, it was probably just the whole fact that I was just sick of losing, and I just needed a month off, and I think a lot of people forget that at the end of the day, when you're playing GA, you're amateur, and like, it is a case of you kind of have to go back to work, or in my case, go back to college, and you don't really want to be thinking about it. You just want to get on with it. But when you don't have a chance to go out next week and actually fix it, and when you lose a final like the under-21 final, or you lose a week later, we lost to Tyrone, and then the Wednesday after that, I think we lost to Limerick in the under-21 hurling semi-final. You're kind of like, you don't have a chance to rectify it. You can't. You have to wait till next year, and that was probably hard for me to take, that I couldn't fix it there and then, or get a chance next week to go out and actually fix it. probably the biggest toll it took on me. Yeah.
You must miss Templemore though, do you? Surely the bright lights of Templemore.
Yeah, maybe in the sun, Shane. But no, it's nice here now. It was 23 degrees here today in the middle of winter, so the lads are saying it's a tough winter here. So
it's a tough life, all right. So what's next? What stage of the season are you at? And obviously the debut went really well. The stats were pretty impressive. So is that you now part of the first team squad guaranteed for the rest of the year, or how does that work?
Nah, not at all. To be honest, if you just have to keep playing consistent football, I'm probably lucky enough, and it's probably hard enough for me to deal with as well. But Swans are a great team and probably a top 4 team in the competition, and it makes competition for places immense. So you can't afford to drop your guard one bit. If you do, someone will come in and scoop it off you, and then they play well. Suddenly you can't get back in the team. So it's a ruthless industry, and there's no guarantees, and you can't say you're guaranteed a spot for the rest of the year. You just have to keep playing consistent football and hopefully they pick you every week.
Compared with the GAA, how hard did these lads hit in the AFL?
Yeah, I guess the tackle is probably the biggest thing. Like, you can actually pick a lad up and drive him into the ground, and it's going to play on. You can bump off the ball to protect your teammate, and like they're the big ones you get. So if your teammate's running for a ball and you're kind of running for it as well, and you don't see your man in the corner of your eye and he's protecting his teammate by smashing you kind of get a bit I don't know, you obviously get hurt from it, but it just wakes you up a bit. Like you weren't expecting it, and that's something that, like, off the ball stuff in the GA, to be probably real hard on you. It'd be probably a red card, like, but the hits here are way hard. There's no yellow cards, there's no red cards. It's just play on a lot of the time, and you just get on with it. Like, there's a massive emphasis on recovery every week, and that's what you have to think about. If you don't recover well from the big hits, you're not going to play next week.
Well, listen, Colin, I hope the recovery goes well this week. Congratulations and well done. Thanks a million for talking to us.
Thanks for having us, guys.
It's Colin O'Riordan live from a balmy 23 degrees in Sydney. Tommy was just sending through the Dublin team that they beat in the All-Ireland minor final. Kieran Kilkenny, Jack McCaffrey, John Small, Paul Mannion, Cormac Costello, Eric Lowndes.
That's sensational.
Little did Dublin know that would be the day when those lads would get launched into greatness.
24 All-Ireland medals between them or something.
Yeah, I remember in that game, I think Tip started off really well. Then Dublin controlled the game for about 40 minutes, and then Tip got that sucker punch goal at the end. Oh, it was absolutely glorious.
Coleman Kennedy?
Yeah.
On the Tip team, Evan Comerford, Seamus Kennedy, who's playing with the Hurlers, Colin O'Riordan, who's obviously playing with the Sydney Swans, Ian Fahey did play senior football, Liam McGrath, Bill Maher and Michael Quinlivan. It's not a bad haul. It's just that if you could add in somebody like Colin O'Riordan to that team, then you'd be like, oh, well, they did all right.
And then when you consider Stephen O'Brien came on after him, like there are a nice few footballers being churned out there, but yeah, heads have been turned by hurling, but not that I'd complain about that.
The conversation was weird after that minor final. Nobody was talking about Tip. Everybody was talking about Kieran Kilkenny. It was like,
because he was going...
Well, not because he was so good and because he had such a good season. It wasn't even to do with the AFL angle. It was to do with Dublin may have lost today, but a superstar has been born. And I was like, it's a bit unfair on Tip. They've just won the All-Ireland here in one of the most dramatic fashions we've ever seen. And like, maybe I'm being overly dramatic here, but who knows how many All-Irelands Kieran Kilkenny and co would have if the seniors didn't do the job that day. You know, the opening of the floodgates, so to speak.
Kieran Kilkenny's kicking style definitely was affected by, well, influenced more so than affected by the AFL. Because especially when he came back, he was doing this thing, and I asked him about it once, where he was holding the ball kind of like that and kicking up through it, so his foot was coming straight up as well.
Yeah.
So he said definitely that had an influence. I don't think it's quite as pronounced as it used to be, but yeah, it's definitely a different kicking style.
His radar was a bit off at the weekend, all right. It was funny. It was a funny game for the Dubs at the weekend. A bunch of their key players didn't play well and they won easily.
Yeah, it's the likes of Niall Scully that was standing up and delivering for them. And
Brian Howard, really, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Brian Howard was sensational.
Put himself into the All-Star conversation.
Did he get taken off to rest him for next week?
I presume so, yeah.
Like, all my best players are doing well here. Like, it was a mix of people being punished and substituted and people being rewarded by being substituted.
Yeah, less tape for Mickey Hart to watch on Brian Howard as well.
But do you think that like a lot of these players, like Brian Howard is obviously very good, the likes of midfield Brian Fenton is very good as well. But do you think that they're standing out so much because they're in a great team? Or like if they were thrown into an average team, would they be amazing? Because that's something that struck me when I watched them play for Raheny against, I think it was Ballyboden in a club game in April. And I remember thinking neither of these lads can get in the game at all because they're on the back foot. So when you think of guys that do really well with average teams, like Daniel Flynn doing what he's doing with Kildare, maybe Emlyn Mulligan over the years with Leitrim as well, just to pick a name out of the hat. Like considering that they're probably in the back foot in most games, to actually be delivering like that's fairly incredible.
It is, but like to be fair, Howard and Fenton did fetch a few balls out of the air that were coming from the opposition keeper. Like no matter what team you're on, that's an incredible art to kind of perfect. And some of the like 2 balls in particular that Fenton fetched in the second half for class. But to be fair, in terms of the point scoring element that he's added to his game this year, what's the main reason why he can add that to the game? Well,
I think they're class footballers. Those 2 in particular are class footballers. It would be class in any team.
But it was just in that Raheny performance, and like it's not as if they were destroyed or anything like that. I remember thinking they're finding it very hard to actually get through the line at any stage because they're not getting the ball on the front foot.
All right, let's move on to a silver medalist at the World Under-20 Championships at the weekend. Gina Akpe-Moses is with us this morning. Good morning to you, Gina. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Has it sunk in that you're a silver medalist at the World yet?
No, it hasn't.
What's your actual recollection of 4x100 race? Like, what bits do you remember from the aftermath?
I only remember passing the baton to Kira and just watching the rest of the race. I can't remember my leg. I can't remember receiving the baton. Just remember giving it away, and that's about it.
Well, that's pretty good. How much can you see? Because obviously, like, it's not like. Do you watch it on the big screen? What's your experience then of the final leg?
I watched it on the big screen because you can't really see much because I was on the far end, so I couldn't really see as much. But I had to watch it on the big screen to see if like Patience passed out the GB girl. But yeah, it was quite exciting to watch.
We're just going to, there's a little kink in the audio there, so we're going to get that fixed for a second, but it is a pretty happy time for Irish underage athletics.
Yeah, it's class. It's brilliant. Looking forward to hearing what's next. And just kind of the training setup, I'm sure we can ask her in a moment once they have that fixed, just about the different individual training sessions that are going on, because they're all individual developing athletes, and then being brought together to form a serious relay team that obviously went within 0.008 of a second of beating Germany. I think we have her re-established on the line. So Gina, I just wanted to ask you about that, because obviously you're also young in that relay team, and it's kind of an anomaly being involved in a relay team so successful and so young, because of course you've got to focus on your own development, on your own training, and then of course you've got to go into the collective. I think you were in a training camp in Portugal earlier this year to try and work on the collective with a target of winning a medal in that relay.
Yeah, we were. We did lots of different combinations. So, like, it wasn't just me running into Kira or running into Molly. I ran into, like, Rashida, ran into Patience. We did lots of combinations to kind of make sure that we were ready for anything that happened. So, yeah, it was quite good.
How many different combinations are you trying out in those training sessions? Are you often the finisher? Are you often going first? In what order are you running? Was it the order that we saw last weekend that is your set order?
No, I ran third leg multiple times, second leg, I've ran last leg as well. But I never ran first leg because my start's not the best. But I'm always like either second, third or fourth. So I've done combinations in all those, but just not first leg because anything can happen really.
And how did I figure that out? Is it like a mixture of all your different strengths? Like you mentioned, your start maybe isn't as strong as the rest of them. Is that something that you're particularly working on at the moment?
Yeah, it is. Like, because in my individual, my start definitely let me down. And like, I know that I need to work on it. But for the relay, I have a very strong, like, second leg because once I get into my running, I'm quite good at it. So I just kind of like leave the start out for the relay, just kind of focus on what I'm usually good at. My strength is just my back leg, like when the second leg. So we just keep it at that to keep things safe. And then obviously I have a good bend as well, so third leg suits me too. But whatever Karen decides on the day, I don't really mind because I'm good on either leg.
Did you know the coverage this would get as soon as he hit the finish line the other night? Because obviously you've experienced it 12 months ago in the Europeans, where winning in the 100 metres individually. Like, you've seen this before, but this is on a different level again after everything that happened at the under-18 championships as well. This is a golden age of Irish sprinting, and you're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, I actually forgot about the whole coverage, until... Like, I actually completely forgot about everything, and then I got into Dublin and I was like, whoa, like, people genuinely care about this. So it was a bit of a shock to me. But yeah, it's just very interesting to like see that people are really behind us and we're excited about everything. Because like athletics isn't the biggest known sport like in Ireland. So the fact that people are very intrigued and very are watching and like are happy to see us is like something that really made me happy, and it was a bit shocking, to be honest. But yeah, it was good.
When you were talking there about working on your start and actually being good at running the bend, does that mean that ultimately 200 is going to be your preferred distance into the future? Or like, what is your medium-term plan for the career evolution at this point? What do you do next?
Well, this year I've only just run 200 metres, and I did run a PB in it. So I am getting back into my 200 metre flow again. But I think in the future, I'm definitely going to double up a lot more once I get things right. So even in the 100, I know my race execution is not perfect. So I'm still working on stuff like that to make sure I come out of the blocks while I drive out hard. And I'm just maintaining my speed. And if I need to build, I'll build up on the speed as well. And with 200, obviously, I think my bends have never been a problem. So it's just my back end and making sure that I've got more to give with the last 20 metres, because that's when people usually die. So I want to make sure I'm strong enough for that, and then I can produce better times and run quicker. Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned better times there at the end, and I'm wondering, is that what you're gauging everything by at the moment? Because when Sophie O'Sullivan won her medal last week, Sonia was interviewed by the European Athletics YouTube channel, and she was saying that it's not about the times for her quite yet. I think she's only 16 or 17 at the moment, but in a couple of years she can start to worry about that. It's still just about enjoying it. Is this the first time the last 12 months or so where you've really started to focus on those figures, or is there still an element of working on the practicality of how you're running and your starts and going around a bend and stuff like that, and the times still isn't the most important thing?
Yeah, it's a bit of both, to be honest, because now that I am going to be going into senior level, the times will count, but I still have to think about the practicality, think about what I'm doing, because I can't produce anything good if I'm not running correctly. So either way, the running has to, the way I run reflects on the times I run, the times I get, you know what I mean? So it's a bit of both. I have to balance it out in a sense. But I think when you're younger, times really shouldn't affect you in any way, because you really do need to enjoy the sport, when you're under 20s, when you're under 18s, because you haven't really gotten to the big stage yet. But when you're a senior, times do mean a lot to you and to your career as well.
So what happens next for you? Because I think, as far as I know, you're still at college at the moment, and everybody who is outside of the athletics world automatically focuses on Olympic Games and that kind of cycle. Is Tokyo realistic for you and for that team yesterday or this weekend?
Yeah, we've got high hopes for Tokyo, definitely. I think now that we have so many strong and fast athletes, and we're kind of joining hand in hand with the senior team and everything. So we've got Phil Healy now, who runs who has the national record for the seniors in the 100 metres and the 200 metres. So Tokyo is definitely something we can look forward to, and we're all working towards it, definitely.
And how do you plot the course for that? What do you do between now and then to try and qualify and get better at your start? And is that about racing as often as possible and using those races against the senior athletes to be the benchmark for what you need to do in training? What's the training to races mix from now on?
Well, now I'm still training towards, hopefully I got European seniors as well in August in Berlin. So that's just me training towards that. But after my season is over, I'll be back into my winter training. So that just involves me kind of just being quite technical and working on any mental strategies and all that kind of stuff. And obviously races does come into play as well. So when I do start racing, I need to be quite race sharp. I need to know how to race against people. You need to know how to react when they up against the gun and everything. But yeah, it just depends. You have to plan it out quite smartly, because you don't want to over race, because then your body will get tired and then you won't perform when you need to perform, but you need to also race enough so that when you do need to perform, your body is ready for it. So you have to kind of like find that happy medium. But that just comes with training correctly and then like planning out your season correctly as well.
Yeah, and I wonder then what's next for this relay team that we saw last weekend as a collective, because obviously there's at least 5, there could be more that we haven't heard of, top level sprinters there, and you look at someone like Rashida Adeleke, who's only 15 years old at the moment, so she's at a very different stage of her development to you. Like at what point do you get together again and practice for the relay once again? Because as I say, your training is probably very different to the way she's tailored her regime.
I'd say the next time we'll probably all come together, probably like next year. Like we'll probably do sessions maybe in the winter time, just so you know who's on the team and everything, you know the people selected for the relay, and then we'll start doing stuff from there, like, and then we'll build into January and February, and like, because I fly over from time to time when I have relay sessions. So yeah, like it just depends on what's going on the next year and who we'll need on the team as well.
You're based in Birmingham, you're in college at the moment. How do you find that work-life balance between being in college and trying to be one of the best sprinters in the world?
I found it like quite hard the first 2 years. But I think it's like now I've learned more like about time management and being organised. It has become a lot easier. But obviously, because this year I've done a lot more travelling, like it wasn't easy, but I did balance out. Like I made sure like all my assignments in on time, like everything was marked, and if I had to like redo anything, I would have it done. So I signed off like early enough, so I got my grades and everything's fine. So university should also just be, hopefully won't be as hard, but yeah, I'm sure I'll be able to manage my time then as well. And
how much longer are you going to be in university? What's the plan for that? And like at what point do you become a full-time professional athlete, or how does that work?
I am like, well, yeah, I'm going to university this year. I'm doing psychology, and I do plan to be like a full-time athlete probably after I've done all my education. But I don't, like, I also want to just have a job as well on the side as well as doing track. So, because I don't like to just only do track. I like to have a life after, like outside of it. So if I had a job, I would be fine doing that as well. Because sometimes I get a bit overwhelmed with training and just focusing on track. So I need to have something else on the side. So education is like, it just kind of keeps me sane in a sense. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever be just doing athletics. I'd have to do something else on the side. But I won't still call myself a full-time athlete, but I just won't do it like full-time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, so many people you talk to who end up reaching the very peak of their sport regret sometimes that they didn't have more of a balance, and then other people who don't make it don't have balance, and at the end of it really wish they had. So it sounds like that's a really good plan, and you've got good people around you helping you to manage that balance.
Yeah, I do. I've got like a lot of support around me, but like the likes of like all the coaches that have helped me, and like I have my agent as well on the side, and then my sponsor as well. So like a lot of people around me, my family, my friends, like they kind of just let me know that track is obviously something I'm good at, but I also have to have a plan B, because anything can change and you can't really rely on something the rest of your life. So it's good to just kind of be prepared for the unexpected.
Well, that's good advice for anybody listening today. Gina, best of luck with everything, and we'll definitely keep in touch, and hopefully all the way up to Tokyo. Thanks a million, and congratulations again.
Thank you very much, guys. Bye.
Gina Akpe-Moses this morning, pretty impressive. What did you do in third year of college? I got pissed.
Yeah, pretty much. That's about the height of it, yeah.
I regret not playing more FIFA. Didn't play any FIFA really in college.
I was Pro Evolution.
Wow.
I was soccer. Many hours.
Controversial. Psychology. Like, I mean, there's one thing doing kind of a degree on the side of the track, but there's a person taking the education very seriously, coming out being a world champion.
Not like an arts degree like us, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
All three of us, the hat trick.
We're not probably setting the bar high for the general other people, but
I think
that certainly seems like a high bar right there.
Technically, psychology would be in the arts block, but anyway, it's also one of those things like, ooh, I might be able to learn from this and pull some of this stuff on myself.
Yeah, like it's...
What would you do if you were an elite athlete the night before? Oh, I'm able to write this in my dissertations, like, from my own experience.
Sickening levels of talent, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, we wasted our lives. It's not too late for you too.
Yeah, we spend our lives talking about other people's lives.
There you go.
Man.
And with that dawning realisation, let's talk about Bradley Wiggins and Team Sky. Are we going to do the video first? Want to do the video first? No? Great. Let's move on and talk about Bradley Wiggins and Team Sky. Whatever you think about Bradley Wiggins, he may well be one of the best pundits in world sport at the moment, because he's just got his two knives out and he's jabbing one in Dave Brailsford's stomach and he's jabbing the other in the back of Chris Froome, and he's twisting them both. He's got his little voodoo dolls out and he's going ding 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 ding, desperately hoping that Geraint Thomas wins.
Yeah, like, of course, Kath Wiggins came out after the salbutamol adverse analytical finding came out to call Chris Froome, what was it, a slithery reptile or a slithering reptile, which was obviously the greatest put down ever. So Bradley Wiggins has kind of turned to his wife and is like, well, you've done a good job there, but I'm going to go one further. And
hold my beer.
Yeah, this is the one, isn't it?
I'm going to be sick. Nothing in the news. If I was given a conspiracy theory, I'd allege they'd throw my boy under the bus on purpose to cover for this slithering reptile. It's so unfortunate because, you know, Chris Froome kind of has that newt-like appearance at the moment where he's so scrawny now.
Yeah. Like, just to kind of clarify what Wiggins has actually said, he was talking to Eurosport, and of course we get into the Alps today, so the Tour de France starts today. So he described Brailsford as divisive and self-serving. He said, does Dave B come in and do his usual and be quite divisive and get in each other's ear and keep them both motivated for the same goal, and there be natural selection? Dave will be telling them they can both win it as a way of molding them, as a way of playing these cards deep into the race. He's quite self-serving. Of course, as you say, Geraint Thomas is... there's a good chance he's going to be in yellow after today. Like, it's not going to be the current holder who's a sprinter who comes out of stage one of the mountains with the yellow jersey. So it's probably going to be Geraint Thomas, which is going to be a very interesting dynamic. At what point does he turn to Chris Froome and is like, nah, listen, mate, I'm keeping this all the way to Paris?
So what happened in 2012 was Bradley Wiggins was the team leader and Chris Froome was supposed to be like the rising star, and he wasn't supposed to attack him, but Froome attacked. That's why they think he's a slithering reptile. And Wiggins threatened to pull out of the Tour unless team orders were restored and he was allowed to win. And ultimately he does win. He wins his yellow jersey and he becomes Sir Brad, and he becomes the advertising icon / reality TV star that he has become today.
For now. When Froome retires.
What is it about cyclists that they're hard to take? I mean, before Armstrong was revealed to be what he is, I read his, it's not about the bike book, and midway through it I gave up because I was like, you're such an arsehole. I just could not stick him. And Bradley Wiggins, do you remember about 3 or 4 years ago, Sky released at Christmas time a documentary done with him. And so this was his opportunity to show what a nice guy he was. And I came away from it just kind of gritting your teeth thinking, oh, you're sickening. Actually, same with Cristiano Ronaldo on that film he brought out about himself as well. Just thought at the end of it, you are dislocated from reality. You are a very annoying man.
I mean, Ronaldo... Ronaldo probably is dislocated from reality in that, like, he is one of the greatest footballers of all time. I don't know, most of the cyclists, it seems, are actually quite nice, pissed off at the treatment of their sport by themselves a bit and also by the media at large. So there's this kind of weird fractious nature between them and all of the people who ask them questions, and that's how we experience them. So I think that...
Is it individual sports as well?
Feeds into it a bit.
You're the centre of the earth and then that changes you?
Cycling is this mad team sport where, so the whole problem between Wiggins and Froome was that they were two individuals within a team, and there were team orders, and it's the same situation at the moment where Thomas wants to be the big dog, and there's a bit of a weakness possibly in Chris Froome this year. At least there was until the final week of the Giro d'Italia, when he miraculously improved and became faster and better than he was in the first week, even though he was knackered at the end of the race. Let's just park that one there, right? Don't.
I won't. Well, you know what you say, a team sport, but they're all kind of like, they're all stags, if you will. You know, they're all coming in from a place where they were the best in their town, the best in their, in their county and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, like,
they do get to a
it's
point fairly
individual,
quickly where they realise, oh, they're the water carriers. And
Geraint Thomas, is he really a water? He's a little bit in between. Like, I think last year they got it perfect, where Thomas got the yellow jersey very early in the Tour. I think after day one, because there was a team trial first off, and he got the yellow jersey straight away. So he had his moment in the sun. And Chris Froome was like, it's all right, Geraint, we'll try and keep that for you for a number of days. Once we get into the mountains, once we get into the big category climbs, it's mine.
They've said that it'll be a little bit different if he's still in yellow by Alpe d'Huez, and they've said that they've talked to each other. Froome says this is nothing like 2012, nothing like it at all. That guy's nowhere near as good as I was the implication. So
yeah, that's Thursday.
If you're not interested in cycling because of all the shit around it,
suspend belief and watch it for just pure entertainment value.
Exactly. It's just it should become soap opera. It's proper unscripted WWE where you don't actually know what's going to happen, which is pretty amazing, and it looks beautiful.
There is that. And it's only going to get more beautiful from today.
Just cycle up to Johnny Fox's or something like that. Just as good.
There was actually, it's funny you say that. When Dan Martin was interviewed in the Irish Times last week, he was talking about cycling up by Johnny Fox's as actual Tour de France training. So have you cycled up there?
Yeah.
There, you could ride the Tour de France.
Might win the thing.
You might win the thing.
Yeah, if you get the right bike.
Yeah, the right bike. That's it.
We decided that anybody could win the Tour de France if we just had the right bike at this stage.
Like if
you were a rookie
on a Yamaha winning the Tour de France, that's how I want to do it.
All right, I think that's pretty much all we have time for on... we've got endless time here. We could literally broadcast for 600 hours, but that's all the stuff that we've got material for today.
There's only so much of you they can listen to.
I mean, ultimately, you don't want us to go any further, because if we did, we would...
probably resort to drawing round number 2 in this helmet.
There has to be a fixture, though. Like, how do you decide?
Yeah, well, in the order that they were drawn, I'll just do 2 sides of a table, and I have to actually watch back this thing to see who's drawn against who. That's the shambles we're dealing with here.
What if somebody's on the England/Croatia side and it's really easy and they get through to the final accidentally? They just get hammered in the final.
Yeah, we're just going with the draw as it is. It is what it is.
Best hurler will win.
Yeah.
It's Horgan versus Maher. It's Canning versus Conlon. It's Callan versus TJ. It's all right. We've already got it on Twitter. Don't worry.
Grand.
It's Kelly versus Crummy. It's Porrick Walsh versus Mannion. It's Gleeson versus Owen Murphy. It's Barron versus Burke, and it's Harnedy versus Morrissey. That's what you needed in your life. A last 16 bracket for the greatest hurler in the country at the moment, brought to you exclusively by Shane Stapleton on behalf of the hurling show, live every Friday afternoon. What time does it go live?
12:30 this week.
12:30 this week, right. I mean, it's 12:30 every week.
Is it?
No. We're back tomorrow morning from 7:45 a.m. for more madness. Off the Ball is back tonight from 7. Rishtar's Russia, Kimberly Archie on the perils of CTE. That's a remarkable and chilling story about CTE from the States. Well worth your time this evening. So make sure you're tuned into News Talk from 7 o'clock tonight. In the meantime, get on to offtheball.com. Subscribe to all our podcasts, like and share and rate us, even if you think we're rubbish. We'll see you tomorrow. Good luck.
OTB AM.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.